guys, this is Jenny C. Back again to talk about Teen Wolf. When do I not talk about Teen Wolf? But we only have one more episode until the season is over, or 5A is over, and I am more than ready for the whole season to be over. It's been torture, and I just like to concentrate more on like the shows I really, really love these days instead of the shows I really, really hate. Because I know The Flash is coming back, and Gotham is coming back, and Doctor Who's coming back. And yes, I will be reviewing Doctor Who, but I'm just more ready. I'm more than ready for this particular season to be over with. Yes. Let's get straight to it. Let's go straight into what I loved about this episode. There wasn't a lot because this episode was pretty much 95% shit. But the first thing I really loved was the Scott and Stiles scene. It is the most talked about scene that's happening in fandom right now. I mean, people are praying for Scott's blood, and rightfully so. I'll get into why later. But Stiles basically said what we've been saying for like 2 seasons. Definitely. And this actually makes this more hilarious is that the promo for next episode came out, and it's driving Scott Stans crazy, and I'm just like giggling in the background because it's hilarious that Theo sort of revealed, spoilers for that, and if you don't want spoilers, just fast forward through this. He revealed that he doesn't want Scott at all. And I'm like, that is hilarious and ironic, but we'll get into it later. Parrish. I didn't like the marriage scenes because they were stupid, but I really did like towards the end that Parrish actually talks more sense than Lydia at that time, because Lydia's like, you're protecting us from the supernatural being exposed by taking the bodies and putting it to the Nemeton. It's kind of weird. If you were doing it, why would you take it to the Nemeton? Why would you? Wouldn't that feed the Nemeton? Doesn't the Nemeton feed on blood sacrifices and on bodies? I don't get that. But yeah, he actually, when he finally figured out that he was really the person who's taking the bodies, he did the right thing and isolated himself in the jail to stop from hurting other people. And it's like someone with some common sense. I'll talk about another reason why I really hated the sort of marriage scenes, but Lydia was all like, no, don't go, blah blah blah, and he's like, no, I need to be isolated and I need to be away from people and I need to be in a place that will hold me, and he goes into the jail. And so he was the only one really out of Lydia and the sheriff who was actually talking some sense for once. So go Parrish. Mason continues to do what Scott should have been doing, or had delegating someone else to do, was to watch either Corey or Hayden. Corey and Hayden. Mason is actually talking to Corey, and although Mason tries to sort of excuse what Scott did, which he shouldn't, because that was wrong 100%. He actually tries to figure out what his powers is. He's trying to find out what his limits are. So go Mason. And this is like a total 180 or 360 rather from what I was saying early on in the season with Mason, who drove me crazy. But yeah, Mason seems to be the only one lately, other than like Theo, who's really talking sense. So you get a gold star. Let's see. I also like with Mason and Corey, particularly Corey. Corey's not letting Scott get away with what he did to him. He's not sugarcoating. He's not excusing it. I love that. He's holding Scott accountable. And I'm like, no one else is really holding Scott accountable for what he did to Corey by mind raping him. So I am more than happy to see Corey holding Scott accountable, because someone needs to, definitely. Liam also is holding Scott accountable this episode, which you also get a gold star. You know, Liam basically is telling him that we're just a bunch of kids and we cannot protect people, can't even protect ourselves. And basically speaking the truth. You know, he's also not really close to Scott because he blames Scott for Hayden and him getting kidnapped by the doctors, and rightfully so. So I'm more than happy to see that Liam is holding Scott accountable, because that's been one of my biggest frustrations with Scott's characters. No one holds him accountable for anything anymore. He always gets sort of a pat on the back and go on. And I'm like, no, people need to start holding him accountable. And him being held accountable for his own actions and getting consequences for his actions is another reason why I say he's a Gary Stew, because he dislikes outweigh what I liked about this episode. First and foremost, Scott's whining. Oh my God, I have not seen that much whining from a character since Bella Swan. I joked earlier in the season that Malia is the series' Bella Swan. No. Scott is. Rev up what what Scott's been doing with what Bella Swan did in the books, and you will see a whole lot of similarities. I am not kidding you. Okay? But I mean, and what made it more Twilight-esque was the monologue where he whined and whined, and I think he went a quarter of the episode just whining, and I'm like, ugh. And not even just whining to Theo. And I'll talk about that later, but oh my God. Oh, there's so much fail there. So much fail. Oh God. Posey's acting, I usually don't give a shit about the acting or the quality of the acting for the most part, because most of these people on the show can't act worth a shit, except for maybe Dylan and maybe maybe Kira, Arden, and maybe Tyler Hoechlin, maybe, and then the adults, because they're seasoned actors. They've been in the business for a very long time, and it shows in the quality of their acting. But for the most part, I would say about 95 to 80% of these actors cannot act worth shit. Sorry. So, but Scott, or rather Tyler Posey, could not he had two expressions through this whole episode, and he was supposed to see that he's sad and he's just so depressed, and it really was like, I just not feeling it. And then you do especially in the final scene, which I'll talk about later, we see, Dylan O'Brien acting his ass off, and I'm like, this is why Dylan O'Brien is getting so much attention than Tyler Posey, because Dylan O'Brien can actually act. Sorry. And you Scott stands, I'm talking to you. Don't come in my space talking shit, because I will bam hand you so fast you won't even be able to sit down. Thank you. Now, on to the review. Let's see. So we see him using the inhaler. Still using an inhaler. Scott acts in this episode like an inhaler costs like $10 at Walmart. No. They cost like hundreds of bucks. And you should not be using he was using his inhaler like my toddler would use her blankie. He was huffing on it and sucking on it, and I'm like, you're not having a panic attack. What really is this? The inhaler scenes are really a bigger symptom of him acting like a child. not acting like the adult that he should be getting moving into, because this is a senior and this is the last year he will be sort of a kid, or could be a kid in society. But no, he's acting like a child. When the going gets tough, he just crumples and holds onto his blankie like he's a toddler or something. I expect my kids, my toddler, my 1-year-old to act like that, or my 6-year-old to act like that. Not someone who's 18 years old and supposed to be going out to college soon. You know what I'm saying? He was really acting childish this episode, and it really showed. I was like, whatever. And again, I post to buy the true alpha thing, and I'm not seeing any sort of real leadership going on. Ugh. Speaking of no real leadership going on, let's talk about how 5 days have passed. He says it in the monologue. 5 days have passed. They're not doing anything. They're not researching. They're not looking for more chimera. They're not doing anything. They're just walking around like zombies. I am serious. What the fuck is going on with that? That is ridiculous. Now, no, wait a minute. I understand that Scott's being depressed, but there's some times when you have to when the going gets tough, you got to put your big boy pants on. And he's just sitting there and allowing his pack to do nothing but sit on their asses with their thumbs up their asses. And I'm like, you should be doing something. This is where everybody is scrambling and getting their resources together and figuring out what the next step is. No one's doing that. I can understand you being depressed, but you have to do that. You just can't lay down on your ass. And I keep saying this, but it's aggravating because he does it through the whole episode of him just whining and looking depressed and not doing anything. And I can't stand whining at all. It just drives me fucking nuts. Oh my God. Oh my God. So that's my phone. Scott decides to close down the veterinary hospital. And that wouldn't necessarily be an issue, although he acts like he doesn't need money, or the veterinary hospital doesn't need money at all. But we see no worry for Deaton. Deaton hasn't called. Deaton hasn't checked in at all. It's been 5 days since the last episode. And we assume that he's being still captured by the desert wolf. Now, there's no concern about Deaton from Scott at all. We don't see any sort of real callback except for Malia, who's looking through the pictures of the desert wolf. That's it. Of the desert wolf's victims, that's it. That's all we really see. And like, the desert wolf storyline is supposed to be a huge storyline this season, and they're doing diddly squat with it. Really, and that's like one of the most interesting storylines this episode is the desert wolf, because we want to see what she does. We want to see how she interacts with Malia. We want to know if they're going to really kill Malia, or really hurt Malia this season, and we see nothing basically. He's not really, they're not looking for any chimeras. The only person who's looking for any other chimeras is the sheriff. Scott says they're looking for chimeras. There's no real showing of that through the whole episode. Also, he's not keeping tabs on Corey or Hayden. Not really. He's just, oh, my life is so hard, and that's it. It's like you don't have to have you yourself, do it, because Corey is understandably pissed off at you. You could have had anybody in your pack go and keep eyes on Corey and Hayden. And I wouldn't even pick Liam to do it, because Liam is so far up Hayden's ass. He can't be sort of objective. So I would, do that at very least. He does nothing. It drives me crazy. Lydia and Lydia and Parrish. No, Lydia and Stiles. So while everybody's doing everything, not doing anything else, Lydia and Stiles are looking for the Nemeton. Apparently, they can't find it, and I'm like, and they do sort of a flashback to season 3A where they're sort of being submerged into the tubs to during that whole like finale. But they've been to, I might be wrong, y'all. If I'm wrong, tell me in the comments. But they've been back to the Nemeton at least once. Did anyone think to, put up a GPS marker or, do a trail, put up a trail to figure, so you can go and sort of patrol the Nemeton? I mean, the Nemeton is the center of supernatural energy for the whole town. It actively draws supernatural creatures. And there's been fights over people trying to sort of regain the territory just for the Nemeton, or the Nemeton. The Nemeton itself. It would be common sense to do some kind of patrolling. No one does any patrolling. They're just now, like, I think there's like a 6 months. I don't know how many months they're in between in the timeline between season 4 and season 3, but they wait several months. Not season 4, season 3, season 4 and season 5. I don't know how many. But there's got to be a lot of months in between that. Yet they're just now looking for the Nemeton. That's ridiculous. It makes no common sense. Another big issue with this episode was Theo and Scott. Oh my God, Theo and Scott. Now, we go through the whole monologue and we get a view of what's been happening so far, because we don't get that enough when they do the what happened last time on Teen Wolf sort of flashbacks at the beginning of every episode. They do a sort of monologue of what's happened since that episode, and turns out it's Scott talking to Theo. Yes, not Stiles, not Stiles at all, or anybody else in the pack, but Theo. And Theo says this word. He said, Theo says he's in it for better or for worse. Marriage Files. And I laughed about it. Everybody laughed about it. But what was interesting was Theo said, Scott says it's going to get a whole lot worse. And Theo replies with a smirk, I'm counting on it. Now, wouldn't that be weird? Wouldn't that just make you look like this? Like, what? But Scott just, doesn't, point that out at all. He's counting on things being worse. No one asks why. He doesn't ask why at all. That's stupid. I'm supposed to feel sorry for Scott because Theo's actively trying to take Scott's pack. Yet Scott is doing everything in his power to make it easy for Theo. Or did I say that right? Yeah, Theo's doing everything to take away Scott's pack. Yet he is, making it so easy for Theo. And it's not even just that. He's just doing really stupid things. I mean, I can understand if it's over time that he trusts Theo, because that happens. That's normal. But he immediately, right off the bat, trusted Theo. He trusts Theo over his own best friend, and I'll talk about that later. And that is my rub. And I'm not the only one who's seeing it. I mean, I'm seeing it all over Tumblr. And I'm like, why? This is written so badly. And it could have been awesome. And it drives me crazy. I'm trying to figure out what else I haven't talked about. Oh, whole monologue. We're gonna go back to the monologue. Oh, excuse me. We're gonna go back through the monologue and talk about that. Through the whole monologue, towards the end of it, not through the whole monologue, but towards the end of the monologue, Scott talks about how no one talks to each other anymore. And I'm like, what? No one has sat down with each other and had an honest conversation all season. Scott's been distrustful of Stiles and Kira all season. He is confiding with Theo, and instead of his breast, whew, food and soup, but his best friend all season. We never see Scott and Stiles just hang out anymore. Not really, not since the first episode. We never see Scott and Stiles have a great conversation, just sit down and have a conversation. Scott doesn't have a conversation with anything. He keeps everything close to his chest. And it's kind of ironic because he used to bitch out Derek for doing the exact same thing. Derek didn't tell anybody anything. Yet, we see Scott doing the exact same thing. This further tells me that Jeff Davis only knows as either trying to make him like Scott like Derek, because Derek is likable and is one of the most likable characters in the fandom, or he just can only write one type of alpha, one type of leader, because Jeff Davis is obviously a shitty leader himself, and so he can only write one type of leader, and it's kind of really sad, because if they wanted me to believe that this boy is a legendary hero, legendary true alpha, communication with your subordinates, with your friends, when you're in a leadership role like that is essential, and no one has been talking, and this is also making it very easy for Theo to just like shove his way in and to take over. And again, I'm supposed to feel really, really sorry for Scott, and I don't. Let's see. Speaking of looking for chimeras, I mentioned earlier that the sheriff is looking for chimeras, and he's going about it in the stupidest way possible. He is. I'm sorry. He is working that Barney 5 like vibe hard this season. I mean, he doesn't care about legality. I mean, and we also see that his actions with Kara are so obviously, racist. Like, really racist, because how he goes and treats Theo. And I will talk about that later. But, yeah. We are going to first of all talk about the fucking questionnaire. So, he thinks that a questionnaire and giving his deputies a questionnaire will, open up a pool of possible suspects for chimeras. The problem with that is that he acts like nobody lies on questionnaires. I do all the time. I have no problem lying on questionnaires, especially if it's for money, because money is money. But yeah, he acts like nobody can lie on questionnaires, and especially with people who are on the front lines, who are police, who have really sort of active, dangerous jobs. Those people have a real hard time coming forward and actually admitting that something is wrong. We see that a lot with soldiers. We see that a lot with cops. We see it a lot with firemen. We see it like with other types of first responders. People who have really dangerous jobs rarely feel like they should go and get help or admit that when they have problems. And the sheriff, who's in this field and who's been in this field for a long, long time, acts like people are not going to lie. That's stupid. And then we get Clark, who I thought wasn't in the supernatural now, with a list of possible chimeras with Hayden's name on it. I'm like, is she in the know or not? I thought she wasn't in the know, but all of a sudden, there's a list. And if she wasn't in the know, why does she have the list? That makes no sense. Then we have, let's see, him investigating the school without permission from the principal or any of the school district at all. You just can't grow up in a place, and that's not necessarily a public place, although I think, well, it is a public place, but still, you just can't be an officer and roll up to a school and then go start investigating into a school. You can't do that. You have to go through the principal or the school board. He does no indication that he has any of that. And I think the biggest indication of that is that he had to wait for a student to let him in for him to be able to go into the library. And then he brings a black light. Now, I always thought, and maybe because maybe CSI is wrong. And if CSI is wrong, let me know. That you have to actually spray a substance and then do the black light to see if there's an indication of blood. He just rolls the black light over the floor, and I think, honey, I'm thinking, that could just be semen. I mean, kids have jerked off in weird places. That's just how kids are. They'll jerk, especially guys, had jerked off in real places before. I mean, it wouldn't be out of the ordinary for a guy to be jerking off on the table. So, but he automatically assumes that light trail is blood. And so we get a flashback of, Clark talking about the library, that there's 2 records of someone going to the library after hours. I mean, Stiles and Theo. And he goes and does some investigating or whatever. He does later on. Later on he goes and talks to Theo in the locker room, all places. He doesn't take him officially downtown, which is the standard operating procedure for an interview of that caliber. He takes them into the locker, and Theo brings on the crocodile tears and lies to the sheriff and tell him that he was the one who killed Donovan. He doesn't take him downtown. He doesn't handcuff him, which goes to show you that the whole Kira scenes in was it the last episode or the episode? Last episode was completely bogus. Was completely and utterly bogus and racist as hell. And I swear to God, it would be surprised to me if the Yukimuras don't sue the sheriff's department. They should sue the sheriff's department. Thank you. After Theo's tearful, tearful confession, he hugs the son of a bitch. And I'm like, no. And the feeling to me is this. If it had been Stiles himself who was in that same place as Theo, there would not have been a hug at all. The sheriff would have had the same reaction as Scott. But it's Theo, and Theo is everybody's favorite, apparently, even fandoms. He gets hugged. That makes no sense to me. Also, racism, because of Kira, definitely. Because he didn't do that to Kira at all. The way that they killed Kira was ridiculous and racist as hell. I'm sorry. I need a "you racist bastards" point somewhere. Let's talk about the filler. This episode was so much filler. Like 75% of this episode was filler. The scenes that really had no business being there. The action didn't really start till the last quarter of the episode. The action, not even the action, the plot itself of the episode didn't really start kicking off towards the last quarter of the episode, with the whole thing with Beth and Malia. Or not even that, with Corey and his Mercury thing, and we'll talk about that later. But yeah, there was no real action or plot going on in this episode towards the very fucking end. I was really bored to tears. I was actually, first time I watched this, I was really tired because it was late at night, and I tend to get up early so I can do my chores and then do work for the blog and blah, 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 blah. So by 9, 10 o'clock, I was just tired. I was ready to go to sleep. So I was basically going like a zombie throughout the whole, first viewing of the episode. But when I took it apart, which took me about 4 hours, I started to realize that, yeah, it's really, really boring. I was bored to tears. I was like, can we get to the action now? Can we get to the plot now? I think the biggest thing that really made this slow down this show, other than the monologue, because the monologue and Scott's whining really slowed down the sort of the action and the pace of the show, or this episode, was the Liam and Hayden romance. I have not been really invested in a hit romance on the show since Gallison. And I love Kira, but yeah, I haven't been really, really invested in a hit romance since Scott and Allison. Because they can't, and even that has flaws. But it really goes to show you that when they really mean to write a romance, they cannot write the writers cannot write romance for shit. It shows, because Liam and Hayden are boring and stale as plain toast, basically. Also, let's talk about the marriage scenes. I like a good action scene like anybody else. But, oh my God, that fight scene was so unnecessary. It really was a way for Jeff Davis to pretend that Lydia is a badass woman character. A badass woman character. I've seen some Lydia fans squealing about it on Tumblr, and I had to say, why are you squealing about it? Yeah, it was an awesome fight scene. Well, it was an okay fight scene. It was more I said this on Twitter, I'm saying this again. It was more choreographed than a Jackie Chan, film. And Jackie Chan makes that shit entertaining and funny as hell because he's awesome and he's a true master of his art. But yeah, that fight scene was unnecessary. It also feels like a stint of 90s feminism. If you give a woman the way to kick ass, that automatically makes her a badass female or a badass woman, and that, or a strong female character. That's not necessarily the truth. The reason why Lydia, especially this season, and I don't know about the other seasons except for season 1 and 2, but especially this season, Lydia's whole story arc, whole interests are wrapped up in Parrish. It has been for the whole season. And I'm like, no, a strong female character, talks back. And she does, but she also has other interests. Yeah, she might like a boy, but she might, she has hobbies, she has interests, she has goals. We see none of that for Lydia. She has she's really just all about Parrish. Every scene we see her in, except for maybe a few action scenes here and there, is almost majorly about Parrish. This does not make a female character. And Joss Whedon is also, as much as I respect Joss Whedon for Buffy, and I respect Joss Whedon for Firefly, I respect Joss Whedon for Dollhouse, he also subscribes to this form of feminism. This is not a strong female character. This is a female cat, this is a sheep and strong female character's clothing, basically. It's just a strong female character. I've talked about this. I think Sticky Keys has talked about this. And it's really sad that they have basically reduced Lydia to being all about a man when she was one of the most interesting characters on the show. I think season 2, not necessarily season 1, but season 2 on, she was one of the most interesting characters on the show, and they've reduced her to being all about a guy. That really pisses me off. Stiles disappears a good portion of this episode. I don't know where he goes. He says that he can get contact with Lydia or Malia, and this is not the first time I've seen that with Stiles. I really don't think they know what to do with Stiles. I really don't. I don't think they really know what to do with Lydia, and it really, really shows because he's, not having as much screen time on him. And the storylines that he's getting are subpar and mediocre, and everything else, everything is supposed to be good, but that is going to Scott and Malia, and that's not good. So I'm like, what's going on there? I'm gonna take a break real quick. I'm gonna drink. Let's talk about the doctors and the whole plot of the episode. I said earlier that it came around the last quarter of the episode. That's fucking ridiculous. It picks up when Corey suddenly starts spewing mercury. And at this point, I am so tired of seeing screwdrivers and mercury. I'm just so tired of it because it's just so old at this point. They rush him to the hospital, and everybody's looking around, and there's no real media attention at all. There's no really uproar from the parents. I would think if so many students are dying, so many humans are dying from supernatural causes, you would think that a whole bunch of hunters would be crawling throughout the whole town. You see none of that. That's stupid, basically. Hayden and Liam are not even a bit concerned about Corey, and I get that they're worried about. They're kind of worried. They're a lot worried about Hayden and her possibility being the next one being sort of cut. I'll talk about that later, but I mean, take a little time out of your busy sort of worrying schedule about yourself to worry about the innocent kid that's being taken to the hospital. That's all I'm saying. Sociopathy can be done, but not when it's done by idiots. And that's when I'm not going to talk about it. So Scott and Theo go to the hospital, and we find out that Corey's basically is running from the doctors at this point, and that he is suddenly Susan Reed's from Fantastic Four because he can go invisible, which that would have been awesome if that had been brought up earlier, but no, it's being brought up at the last fucking minute as usual. The doctor kills, or one of the doctors killed Corey, and Scott's feeling sorry for himself because he can't protect this kid, and blah 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 blah. Also, at the same time, because I forgot to write this down, Malia is in class, and she suddenly noticed that a girl named Beth is like looking up the supermoon, and I should have looked it up and researched it myself. I didn't, but apparently, the supermoon is a big thing, a big event for like supernatural creatures, and she's looking it up on her Apple of course it is, Apple, you call it laptop. And suddenly she's biting her nails, and then she bites off her whole entire like nail, and you see mercury leaking from her, and I'm like, and she starts running, and Malia tries to run after her, and Mrs. Martin is like, no, you need to focus on your classwork, and I'm like, I totally get that. But wasn't it revealed last season that Natalie Martin was in the know with the supernatural stuff? I might be wrong, but I could have sworn that she was in the know. And then we get Malia sort of intimidating Mrs. Martin and flashing her eyes at her and whatevs. And then it's just like, she goes after Beth. Malia goes after Beth. And Malia just basically, she tries to talk to Malia and figure out what's going, or no, Malia tries to talk to Beth and try to see what's going on. And Beth just basically just, slams her, throws her and slams her into the locker. And I'm like, every time that Malia gets her ass kicked, I'm happy. Much like Scott. But yeah, and so Beth runs, and she gets caught and killed by one of the doctors. They basically snap her neck. And I'm like, again, why is nobody seeing a kid being their neck snapped? They're not being really, discreet with how, where, and when they're killing these kids, but no one's seeing them. Was my biggest issue. And then we get Malia saying something of the sort of to Stiles, like saying, I cannot handle another failure. I cannot handle seeing another dead body. First of all, to Stiles, by the way. First of all, since when? You've always been gung-ho to kill people. But all of a sudden you lived in the wild. And, I mean, you've seen dead bodies, and you've had no problem with that. But all of a sudden, you're gun-shy about dead bodies. 2, it made it really obvious that Malia wasn't worried about more kids dying. It made by the tone and the way that she said it, it made it really obvious that she was more worried about failure. She didn't want to be a loser, which, like Scott. She wants to win. This is what this is all about. Which makes her a horrible character. Okay. Also, let's go back to Corey, because I've sort of actually forgot a few things from Corey. My biggest question with Corey and with characters like Corey, because they keep adding new characters all season, this season, and they keep killing off these new characters. They give them backstory, they build them up, and then they go and kill them off. Why? That's stupid. It feels like when you do that, when you build up a character, it's like you're and then kill them off like that. It feels like you are wasting my time. Why would you make me even care or be interested about this character and then do that? It's a waste of time. It's wasting your time. It's wasting my time. So don't do that. And Jeff Davis Jeff Davis and his writers, particularly this season, has a real big issue with that. They just keep doing it, and I'm like, stop. Hayden and Liam go off to cinema to go pick up, Hayden's check, or more likely still Hayden's paycheck for that week. And during this time, they had a little love scene, which is stupid because, honey, this is not the time to get busy. You're about to die. And in between that, the doctors arrive at the cinema. Liam gets his ass kicked. Scott, who was there, got his ass kicked as well. Who came to find them, got his ass kicked. And then Hayden just stands there like a deer in headlights. And I'm like, I can understand being scared. Or being scared and you being frozen. But this is not the first time you met the doctors. And she acts like she hasn't had any flight or flight, instincts at all. She just stands there. And I'm like, run, bitch, run. Jesus. I hate when it just thinks that she has to stand there and wait for her man to save her. Again, this is supposed to be a world without sexism. Yeah. So, I'm trying to see. So while Scott and Liam are finding the doctor, another doctor comes behind Hayden and takes her off somewhere and basically injects her with, I think, mercury. I'm not sure exactly though. And and then just leaves her there. Leaves her alive. After they straight up just murdered Corey, they leave her alive. And I'm like, why? That makes no sense. There's no reason why Hayden should still be alive. Hayden should be dead, and then that would further have pushed Liam away from Scott. But y'all still want to keep Hayden on the show and make sure that everybody's matched up, because everybody must be matched up at all costs, because no homo. So, but seriously, she's alive. They all, split up because like a bunch of dumbasses. And go to the animal clinic. So during the ride to the animal clinic, because they're once again in the back of Theo's truck, because this is the second episode that's happened, and she's dying and she's withering and she's in pain, and Theo and Liam figure out that maybe, or theorize that maybe if she's changed, that she into a werewolf, that she could survive. And so they're like, the plan was to ask Scott to bite her and let her change. And I'm like, that'd been kind of interesting. But Scott, who is a sexist douchebag, because that's nothing but sexism, because he did the exact same thing. I'll talk about that in a minute. Scott, who is a douche's sex bag. Scott, who's a sexist douchebag, basically says no. I'm like, you gonna let this chick die? When you changed Liam, when his life was in, he was in danger of dying, but you can't change her. And there's no reason for that, because he's been spouting off lately in the last season or so that being a werewolf was a gift. And he was being very pro-werewolf, but all of a sudden he can't change her. He don't want to change her. That is some bullshit right there. I don't really care about Hayden. She's boring. The character's not really interesting at all. But you would think that he had no problem with it, season 3B, or was it season 3B or season 4? I think it's season 4. He had no problem with it season 4, that he would do it again without any, hesitation. But oh no, he can't do it. And there's no logical reason for that. So the only reason I could sort of I could come from that would be that because she's a girl. And he don't like girls, apparently, in his pack. Or he doesn't like female werewolves, apparently. Let's see. Let's talk about the biggest issue. Excuse me. The one big issue that has been talked about and screamed about all throughout fandom was this particular scene. The confrontation between Stiles and Scott. Yes, I'm not even playing with you. Or, no, I'm not playing with you. It was as horrible as you thought it would be. It really was. And I'll tell you why. My first bone of contention, though, above everything else, is the rain. Every important scene that takes place in this series, or in this season particularly, happens in the fucking rain. I know it's Northern California, but yeah, cut it out with the rain. Especially when California, because they're filming in California. Filming this in California. It's not like it's Vancouver or anything like that. No, they're filming in California, where there is and has been and still is a fucking drought. Yet every important scene is in the rain. Why is that? That is fucking, it's gone from fucking being old, being old to fucking actively annoying. Ugh. Okay. So let's talk about the moment Stiles admits, because Scott hands out the wrench. Oh, you forgot something. With that stupid face he was making. And Stiles takes it, and Stiles admits that he killed Donovan, which he didn't, because it was an accident. And instead of asking Stiles what happened and say, come on, let's go inside and let's talk about it, and let me hear your side of the story, he automatically figures that what Stiles is saying, what Stiles is saying is, what Theo is saying, he automatically feels, I can't speak today. He automatically talks about, the moment that he that Stiles admits it, figures all of Theo's story is correct. He doesn't ask Stiles for the full story, or the full side of his story, and that fucking pissed everybody out. I was looking through the tags. It really, people were pissed, and still pissed. Okay. Also, Scott flinches back because he's scared of Stiles, and now Scott stands and talking about, oh, he was abused by his father. And it's like, yeah, that's one thing, but he has not, in the last 5 seasons, showed any sort of hesitation towards violence. All of a sudden, he's scared that Stiles is going to hit him. Peace out. And Stiles has never been really violent with Scott at all. And Stiles is a squishy human being. He's not Nagetsu anymore. He doesn't have any powers where he could just kick your ass. He's a squishy human being with no powers. But telling me you're afraid. Get the fuck out of my face. Oh. So immediately after, he goes straight into the rhetoric. We mustn't kill people, not innocent people. Donovan was not. He was a career criminal, with a long history record, or assumed by the way that no, wait a minute. Donovan was not innocent. He was arrested for busting in someone's house with a fucking gun. And then, like a dumbass, because I went through that particular episode, goes and threatened the sheriff right in front of him and tell him explicitly how he's going to kill the sheriff. Okay? Then, once he gets superpowers and is released into the wild, he goes straight to Scott. Oh, I can't speak today. Straight to Stiles. And attacks him. Donovan was not innocent. I can understand if Stiles was an innocent person and started hitting him with the wrench. He didn't do that. He didn't even hit Donovan. Not really. Donovan fell on a rebar. That's it. And instead of asking him that and then listening to his heartbeat to see if that's the truth or not, he just took Theo's story 100%. He didn't try to verify any facts. He didn't try to figure out the truth of things, he just immediately distrusted Stiles and kicked him out of the pack. And what was heartbreaking was Stiles was begging to figure out a way to make this right, to fix it. And Scott just, kicks him out of the pack. And I'm like, you're an asshole. You know what? Right then and there. For me, if I was Stiles, I'd been like, okay, I'm through with you. I am through with you. I would have been like, I'm going to graduate early. I'm getting the fuck out of this town. Booyah. I wouldn't have nothing to do with nobody. I would not have nothing to do with nobody in that town. Because to me, it feels like Scott was looking for an excuse to kick him out of that pack. He was looking for a little bit excuse to kick him out of that pack. Because why wouldn't you try to listen to his full story? Why wouldn't you try to verify the facts? That's supposed to be your brother. Your best friend since you were a child. And you did not even give him the chance to tell his story. You are an asshole. And he's been distrustful of Scott, of Stiles, and Kira all season without any provocation. Even before he realized that Kira, something wrong with Kira. He wasn't really talking to Kira. He wasn't really talking to Stiles all throughout the season. Yet, he's going to believe Theo. And he don't really know Theo like that. He knows Theo for a few weeks in school, and he was in school, and then now. And then 9 episodes before, 9 weeks. I'm actually thinking, or you know what? Not even 9 weeks, because there's no real clear indication how much time has passed between episodes. So he's only known him for maybe a few months. Yet he took this man's word over a person that's been with him since the beginning. Stiles has risked his relationship with his father, has risked his sanity, has risked his life without Scott, without any hesitation. Yet he's kicking Stiles out of the pack. And you know what? And I swear to God, if it had been me in that same situation, I'd been like, fuck you, I'm done. Fuck you, Scott. Oof. Okay, I am mixing up names today. Fuck you, Scott. I am done. That's how I would have been. And I don't get it. I just don't get it. Oh, I forgot the holes in Theo's story, because the sheriff and Scott didn't even talk about the obvious holes in Theo's story. You expect me to believe that Stiles, who is a squishy human with no human powers, no superhuman strength, was able to cave Donovan's head in with a wrench? Give me a goddamn break. And instead of you realizing that, Sheriff, who is a seasoned investigator, Scott, who is a walking, talking lie detector, they just take it at face value. As much as and I'm going to talk about the sheriff, because I've already talked about why Scott taking Theo's word at face value is stupid. But I'm going to talk about the sheriff. You are a seasoned investigator, yet you just take everything in. You don't verify it at all, that what he said was true with forensic evidence at all. You don't realize, you're too stupid to realize that those were crocodile tears. I mean, people from China could look at that scene and see scene from where I'm at and see that those crocodile tears. Those were obviously crocodile tears. I'm a parent, and he's a parent. You know crocodile tears from fake from real tears. I mean, that's so easy. And he wasn't trying to hide that little crocodile tears either. It was obvious. And the way that he spoke, the way that he looked, it was obvious that they were fake. There was no real emotion there. But the sheriff, who's been a policeman and who is a father, did not realize it at all. I'm like, you're an idiot. Why are you sheriff of this county again? So now that I'm done with the fuckery of my dislikes, because there were many, and I told you there were many, I'm gonna talk about my overall thoughts because there needs to be talked about. This episode managed to take me from being once again apathetic and bored out of my mind to raging mad. I was fucking angry. I wanted to slam things. I had to take a lay down. I had to take some Excedrin and lay the fuck down, or I was going to start throwing things. I am dead serious. And the writers have a singular talent of doing that to me. Fandom right now is in an uproar. The Scott stands are mad that Theo has revealed spoilers. Theo has revealed that that he was never there for Scott in the first place. He was never there for Scott in the first place, and he wants Scott's pack. He wants an evil version of Scott's pack. Scott's pack. So I'm like, yay. I'm here for it. The pace, the timeline, the plot was completely fucked up. I mean, I didn't know what most of these scenes were happening, what time they were happening, what time of day, what season. I had no idea. It just further shows me that no one does any pre-planning at all when it comes to the writing. It's like this show is beginning to more and more resemble Twilight in its writing and its tropes that it's writing and the quality of writing, but also Ariana Black from the Ariana Black series for the HP fandom. Yeah, a lot of sort of similarities with that. Coming in again, I took 2 seasons off because I could not stand True Alpha Scott. It felt really ham-fisted. It felt really Gary Stew. I did not like it at all. I didn't like it from the get-go. And so I decided to just leave it alone and walk away. I've done that with a whole bunch of series where they start writing more bad shit than good and just walk away. So I did with Teen Wolf. I came back because I loved you guys and you loved my rants and you loved my my sort of my articles and on Teen Wolf, and so I did this for you guys. I came back also because Derek is gone and I could not watch Derek be torn apart in season 4. That's why I will never watch season 4, because I could not watch Derek being torn apart. And so Derek being gone was another incentive for me to watch the show. Also, I always wonder if I'm being too harsh, because I tend to be really, really harsh and I really give really quick judgments, and so I always come back and try to figure out if I'm being too harsh, and if I'm being too harsh, I always apologize. So I came back trying to see if the whole True Alpha stuff, which is being popped up in a lot of fics, and I don't read True Alpha Scott at all, that he was as good as Alpha as everybody tried to make him. And the answer to that is no. He's not a good Alpha. He's not a good leader at all. At all. I've went through the reasons why he's not a good leader, but this further shows me that the True Alpha storyline is complete and utter bullshit. And it is. Also, another reason why Scott is a complete and utter fantastic leader is that we don't see him pulling on any of his resources. I've talked about this. Keys has talked about this. Any of his resources, he acts like he's completely alone. He has Chris Argent. He can easily console him by Skype or by phone call. He has Satomi, who's a badass werewolf alpha and has a really big pack, who actually lives in Beacon Hills. He could go and consult her because it is her territory as well, and she would want to sort of be, you would think she would want to be in what's happening there. He acts like he's the only pack in Beacon Hills and there's nobody that he can ask for help. Also, he's not calling Braden, he's not calling Derek, who has a lot of experience in the supernatural world. Not calling either of them, but I'm supposed to be, concerned that he's losing his pack. Again, I say to you, he's making it very easy for Theo to come in and divide and conquer. Because if Scott's pack had been as tight knit as everybody's trying to tell me that they were, it'd have been so much harder for Theo to come in and start breaking up the pack. It was so easy for Theo to do that. It's not because Theo is necessarily a mastermind. It's because Scott and his pack are not really all that cohesive. It's been for a long while. Stiles and Kira, not Stiles and Kira, Scott and Kira, Stiles and Malia, and then Lydia. That's how it was grouped. Loosely grouped people who are together by convenience only, much like the Cullens. But I'm supposed to be surprised or, disheartened that they're breaking up the pack. There was no real pack to begin with. Also, as someone who's a Derek fan, I like to say they tore down Derek in every possible way. They took everything from Derek to prop up Scott. And you know what? And then everybody, even his fans, were saying, "Oh, he's such a better alpha than Derek." No, he isn't not. Derek made some really bad issues. Really bad decisions. And I will chalk that up to being he's inexperienced. He has no idea how to lead anybody. And arrogance. I think over time, if Teen Wolf had actually gave him a chance to grow as a leader, in season 3A and B, he would have grown out of that and been more settled in his leadership. Teen Wolf didn't really give him a chance to do that at all. Also, what makes Derek so better than Scott is this. It's no matter how many mistakes Derek made, and he did make mistakes, when people brought him back down, he got the fuck right back up. He didn't mope. He didn't sit there and crawl up into a ball and do a Bella Swan. He got up. They took everything from him. They took his status. They took for a time, him being a werewolf. He was human for a time. And instead of just sort of rolling up and dying, he got up and he handled his business. Scott does not know how to handle his business, and that's why he's a fail alpha. That is why. Also, faced with the same situation, Boyd and Erica left. They freaking straight up abandoned him. And when Boyd came back, instead of saying, "No, you can't be in my pack, get the hell out of my face," he accepted Boyd back, despite all his resentment. That is why he's a better alpha than you. Or better alpha than Scott. Now, I'm done. Because I think I've went over the hour mark. I'm hungry. And I want some lunch. And I gotta go check on my kids. And, do some other things. Bye-bye.